It took 9 weeks into the Arizona State football regular season for the newly named head coach Kenny Dillingham to earn his first win in the Pac-12 as a head coach, coming with ASU, a 38-27 victor against the Cougars of Washington State. Here with HouseOfSparky.com, Matt Venezia, he's Jack Pearson. A lot to analyze from ASU's first conference win of the season. Jack, the first way we have to go and point is the rushing offense. 240 yards on the ground, 5 rushing touchdowns, and that's not a mistake. 5 rushing touchdowns on the ground. It was divvied up between several different backs and even Trenton Bourguet himself. What did you notice from this offense? What was really led in the beginning by DeCarlos Brooks?
Yeah, DeCarlos Brooks is the name that we have to talk about first. 3 touchdowns on 11 carries, and he had 67 yards. This guy was really the key. They were able to use him in the red zone very efficiently, Matt. He had a couple nice runs where he was just barreling over defenders, and then Cam Scadaboo was just doing what he does, as he's done all season long. He had over 120 yards on the ground, was boosted by that long 66-yard run that he had earlier in this game, but he also was able to score a touchdown as well, Matt. They just looked fantastic on the ground game, and Kenny just said that, you know, they have to be able to run the game if they want to win, and they won tonight, and that was definitely the reason why.
Kenny Dillingham spoke very highly on the explosives. We know there are explosive players on this offense. Jalen Conyers, Elijah Badger. Cam Scadaboo has shown it several different times, Jack. But there were several examples of it today. The 50-yard connection to Conyers that pretty much got the fourth quarter going and allowed ASU to build into that insurance. You know, Scadaboo's big run he had earlier in the first half. Explosives were a necessity, and Kenny Dillingham was happy to see them today, and they played a large part in the victory.
Obviously, the explosive run. You know, I never look at yards per carry as a reflection of how you ran the ball. We had one big run, and then we consistently chopped wood down the field. And that one big run was huge in the football game. Credit to Messiah Swinson, the guy that I really challenged. And, you know, they bring double gut cross in super wide. You have Gio Sanders blocking a defensive end, and then you have Messiah coming around, cleaning it up. Both those guys are 5th, 6th-year seniors on a 1-6 team. That tells you everything you need to know.
So explosive plays in the offense, but this defense has been the staple of Arizona State, and they showed it again tonight, especially in the second half, led by B.J. Green and Clayton Smith. Those 2 guys led the team in sacks, getting the job done. Matt, what did you see from that defensive line unit?
Well, 3 in total, and they were just getting pressure on Cam Ward, who still had himself a pretty solid game, but again, creating havoc back there in the backfield against what's been a pretty good offense in Washington State coming into this contest. But again, allowing trouble there and getting pressure, that's what we saw from this group. And then the linebackers, Caleb McCullough, you know, they were able to crash in as well and provide that help. But Kenny Dillingham raved about it. He said that when asked about it, the defensive help, especially at the defensive line, players are getting exposure and opportunities to play freely. Exactly what he said in this scheme that Brian Ward has on the defensive line. And he called out recruits that might want to join this program in terms of being on the D-line. Take a look.
We play free and we play attacking. And I really don't know of a better place to play defensive line in the entire country than in this scheme. I don't. I think if you're a defensive lineman in the country and you watch our defensive linemen, you watch all the transfers that are brought in and the production they've had within Coach Ward's scheme, I think it should brighten everybody's eyes to say that could be me. And I think that's really what we should be highlighting, is how aggressive our defensive line is, how free they play, and the production of these kids that had no production at their prior school.
We mentioned the explosiveness of the defense, but Cam Ward still had a really good game out there for the Washington Cougars. 35 of 50. He had a passing touchdown. He ran one in the first quarter. How about not letting the best player on the field beat you? So much to that bend, don't break. We saw that tonight defensively.
Absolutely, and Arizona State has played some very tough quarterbacks. This is the deepest quarterback class in the Pac-12 that we've seen in the last decade. I mean, they're playing guys like Caleb Williams, Michael Penix Jr. These guys are leading the Heisman race, so they haven't seen a lack of talent in that category, in that position group. So I think they weren't surprised when they were going into preparation for Cameron Ward. He's a guy that can run the ball, he can pass the ball, much like Caleb Williams. And actually, Brian Ward earlier this week said that he would rather play Caleb Williams in the sense of his rushing attack versus Cam Ward. He thinks that Cam Ward is a little bit more of a better runner, and they did a good job just limiting him to 35 yards. He did have that touchdown early in the first half, but they really limited him in that second half.
Jack, this game was back and forth for the first half, really just back and forth at the offense. The Sun Devils had the rushing attack going with DeCarlos Brooks picking up his touchdowns earlier on in the ball game. But a very significant moment of this game was what Kenny Dillingham defined as the middle 8, the last 4 minutes of the first half, the first 4 in the second half. What's notable is that ASU received the second half kickoff to begin action out of the locker room. And what a very interesting situation happened that Kenny Dillingham didn't want to get into too much, but basically setting up the field goal from Longhetto to go into the locker room at the Horn. Because of Conyers being down, ruled for an injury, the Sun Devils were not charged a timeout, allowing Longhetto for the field goal. How big was that swing to then allow ASU the touchdown to begin the half, Jack, to build from a 1-possession lead to a 2 in a game that could have been tied going into the locker room?
Yeah, you said it. Kenny just said that this game really, the score says it was an 11-point win, but Kenny said that this game was really decided by 4 plays, and that was absolutely one of them in that middle 8 that you just talked about. If this game could have been a 1-possession game going into that middle, at the end of the middle 8, but instead that kick was ginormous. And by the way, this field goal unit, Kenny just said it's been bad. It has not been a good unit. We saw them miss a couple field goals. One got blocked. One was missed, hit the upright in Washington just last week up in Seattle. So it was good for the unit to get a 51-yarder just to build some confidence, because that is obviously an important piece. As we got offense, defense, but special teams definitely counts as well, Matt.
Not to mention, Jack, too, Longhetto missing a 49-yard field goal. Had a feeling that maybe could have come back to bite ASU. All these one-score games, especially at home in the conference, doesn't hurt ASU today in the 38-27 win. The Sun Devils next week go up to Salt Lake to see the Utah Utes trying to build off of this game. We won't have coverage for you there up in Salt Lake, but Jack will make the trip out to UCLA to the Rose Bowl when the Sun Devils take on the UCLA Bruins, and then we'll have it all for you when they come back after that 2 road trip swing against the Ducks of Oregon. For Jack Pearson, I'm Matt Venezia, and the rest of the House of Sparky crew, we say so long, and we will see you next time.